Beginning as an almost shot-for-shot remake and soon evolving into a more nuanced approach to its themes, Lilo & Stitch doesn't prove to be wholly necessary, but it does distinguish itself from the original. Starring Maia Kealoha as Lilo, Sydney Agudong as Nani, and featuring Chris Sanders returning as the voice of Stitch, the new take on the classic Disney movie is the kind of summer adventure kids and adults will be happy to sink their teeth into. Changing enough that the story is different but still recognizable, Lilo & Stitch will be one of the summer's big hits. When it comes to remaking such a prominent part of so many people's childhoods, there's always a lot of risk. However, Lilo & Stitch tightens the story and sharpens its focus, getting rid of some of the glaring structural issues with the first film. Its emotional alterations are a little self-conscious, but Lilo & Stitch is also having a lot of fun. Overall, the characters are stronger and more fully realized, especially Nani, and her and Lilo's world is clearer and more vibrant. The film bursts with friends and neighbors and detailed specifics about the memories the girls cherish, which effectively tug on our heartstrings. Going into Lilo & Stitch, I was worried that there would be so much CGI that it would be distracting, as the 2002 Lilo & Stitch relies on the animation to carry a lot of the humor. However, the project felt surprisingly real and rooted in its setting. The fact that it was shot on location in Hawaii adds to the atmosphere, anchoring what could easily be a film that dips into Uncanny Valley territory. Fortunately, the opposite is true. Lilo & Stitch invests heavily in its live-action settings and storytelling, allowing us to see ourselves in the narrative. Agudong takes center stage as Nani, who gets a much larger role in this iteration of the story, but it's the adorable Kealoha who steals the show as Lilo. It can't be easy to have chemistry with an alien who will be added in post-production. However, Kealoha is enchanting, and her relationships with Stitch and Nani are truthful. It isn't a chore to spend time with the characters. Lilo & Stitch balances its more direct take on grief and the prospect of the sisters' separation with plenty of adventure and humor that prevents the plot from getting too dark. Similar to 2002's Lilo & Stitch, the concentric plot lines are a little disjointed until the final moments of the story, when everyone finally crosses paths in their attempts to capture Stitch. However, many of the story's strengths can also be traced back to the original. It's not the most nuanced or emotionally complex plot ever written, but the new Lilo & Stitch doesn't try too hard to overcomplicate it. The film lets the heartfelt narrative speak for itself and revels in the joy of finding your family in unexpected places. It's easy to keep a mental tally throughout one of these projects, counting all the ways it's the same or different from the original. However, somewhere along the way, I stopped keeping score. I let myself join Lilo and Nani as they try to be good for each other and grapple with the fact that grief often goes hand in hand with anger. The stakes are a little higher in the film this time around, and the problems are just as rooted in reality. However, this doesn't stop you from being swept away by the joys of the new Lilo and Stitch.